So I'm going to prep Chloe's face with a little bit of oil, beauty oil, right in the center of her face where everything is a little dry. I'm going to push and swipe all throughout that area. Bring some life back into that skin after being cleansed. Okay. What you might notice about Chloe's face is that she does have a little hyperpigmentation around the nose and up top in the forehead. So what I'm going to do is I have decided that her base color is going to be a neutral 7, and I took a 5. I don't want the oil to drip off, but I have oil on my palette because I'm going to mix it in. I'm going to do a light wash before we do airbrush. I'm going in with a 5, N5 mixed with a little bit of orange, and a 7, N7 mixed with a little bit of orange as well. And so this N7 with the orange, which is now a ruby 7, will go in right around that mouth, up top over the forehead, just to kind of neutralize and lift those areas of the face. So I'm going to go ahead with a little bit of oil, pick up a little bit of that ruby, and just kind of work on lifting around the mouth. And adding a little bit of that 5 in there to create a little bit more of a lighter color, and just tapping it on. I'm going to take it up top onto the forehead, and I'm going to go in with my base color and start applying. Starting from the outside of the face, working it in. Again, I'm mixing oil in with the foundation so that it's more sheer, but is still providing a nice amount of coverage. I'm going to go ahead with my lighter color under the eye. Go ahead and look up. This is the 5. Tapping that in. And blending in with that foundation color. And just kind of working back and forth until I get the right amount of coverage. And look up to the sky. Really just working on evening out the skin tone before we go in with airbrush. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit of that oil and a little bit of her base foundation and have her tilt her head back and just blend down. Now that we have a light color wash of foundation on her face, we're going to go in with airbrush. In my kit, I carry the Temp 2 Hydrolock in 5NW, 6.5N Olive, 9N, and 15N. You can see that the 5NW is very warm or ruby, the 6.5NO is very olive, and then we have the 2 neutral colors, which I would say I would have to mix the 2 to get the right level. So I'm going to go ahead and use the 6.5NO in the center of her face, and then bring in a little bit of maybe like a 12 around her face. To get started, I'm going to go ahead and take my SB airbrush cleaner, drop a couple drops in, turn on my airbrush, and run the product through. I want to make sure that my gun is running clear before I put any product into it. I'm going to go ahead and drop a couple drops of the 5 and Olive Nude into my wow. Starting in the center of her face, go ahead and close your eyes. I'm just going to target my check mark areas up top of the brow bone, down the center of the nose, and repeat on the other side. I'm really making sure not to spend too much time in one area. So I'm doing light layers, and I can come back and add more. This color is really going to brighten up under that eye area. Going close. I'm going to take it up over the lid and neutralize. I'm going to add in one more layer so I have a nice full coverage. And then move on to the darker shade. Now that I've mixed a little bit of the 9 and the 15 together, I'm going to spray it on the outside of her face. Going towards me. Now with a clean brush, I'm just going to tap that product into the skin to make sure that there's no product sitting on top, because we are going to use some powders and I don't want them to snag onto them. Now we're going to go in and just kind of soften some of her facial features. She seems like she has a nice oval or maybe a little bit of a longer face. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of shorten it up and send her forehead back a little bit and a little bit on the chin. Maybe a little bit on the outside here, but that's probably about it. So I'm going to go in with a combination of these two and just lightly bring that shade in. Rotate. And straight ahead. Now we're going to go in with a 2-shade blush. I'm going to start with my darker color. Go and rotate your head that way. And I'm going to deposit at the back of the cheekbone and send forward. Then I'm going to go in with my lighter shade and blend back just above it. And take it up into the temple. And look straight ahead. Going in with my darker color, depositing on the back, blending forward, working that product in. My lighter color, sending it back. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit of this gold highlighter and just dab it on the top of her cheekbones. Now moving on to the eyes, I am going to neutralize her eyelid out with a combination of these two. Go ahead and close your eyes. This peach is going to brighten and lift any discoloration on the eye and neutralize it out. Now we're going to play with our blush and bronzer palette. Just because these are blushes and bronzers doesn't mean we can't use them on the eyelid. We can actually use them for multi-purpose uses on the face. So we're going to go ahead and use blush. So it's a nice cohesive look. It's also going to add a lot of warmth to the eye. We're going to do a corrective lift shadow style on her. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this middle color, and we'll work in some of the other color for a little depth. Starting on the outer corner, I'm going to deposit and blend inwards. You can see it's immediately adding a lot of warmth to the lid, but because it's a lighter shade, it's very soft. And just keep layering until you get the color that you desire. Working it up into that crease and feathering it out so it fades into the lid. Again, depositing the color on the outside of the eye and blending in so that it fades to light. Blending it up into the eye and feathering out. Now I'm going to go in with this deeper color on the outside and just kind of like a little wedge or a Pac-Man. Just take it in and up. And just blending it in. On the outside, up into that crease, down into that lash line, like a little wedge, and then feathering, blending it all together. In the spirit of multi-purpose, I'm going to go ahead and grab that gold. I'm using a nice stiff brush. I'm going to tap it into that inner corner and slide it into the center. I'm also going to add a little bit to her brow bone to make that pop. Tapping in the inner corner. Tap, 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 and slide in. And a little bit right underneath that brow bone for a little fun. Now for underneath, I'm going to go ahead and start with my darker shade, have my model look up to the sky, and blend in. Go in with my medium in the center. And then I'll go back in with a little bit of that champagne gold and blend it in. And look straight up. Over here, sorry. So we're going to add a wing eyeliner to this look. I have my Sigma gel liner in Wicked, which is black, on my palette. I'm going to pick up a little bit on my angle brush. I'm going to have her look straight down, and I'm just going to start lining my wing. I don't start all the way out here. I kind of start just like a little flick, and I'll make it grow depending on how much of a wing I would like. Making sure I get that liner all the way into the lash line. And working a clean line into the inner eye. Grabbing more product. There you are. When I get to the inner eye, I'm going to have her look down and towards me, so I can get right into that inner eye. Notice I am pulling her eye back a little bit, so I have a nice taut, clean area to work with. And then now I'm going to work that wing to where I want it. Perfect. My eyes start going like bajiggity. I'm like, I can't see. They're watery. All right, camera 2. I'm going to rotate towards me. Okay. Starting on the outside. And then working it all the way down into that lash line. Working to a wing. Just a soft wing. I look down and over here. Now we're going to throw on lashes. I have a lash that's longer on the outside, which will kind of accentuate our wing. Go and look straight down. It's already cut and measured for her eye. Just going to pop these on real quick. And look towards me. Making sure my corners are sticking. Going to open, look up to the sky, make sure she's not sticking, and I think we're good. Look straight down. I'm going to go ahead and kind of wiggle these. Make sure these are down into her lash line. This guy is good. This one doesn't want to dry. I'm going to go ahead and fill in her brows. I'm going to start by brushing them up and over into place, so I have a really clear idea as to where I need to fill in. I'm just going to go ahead straight in with my brunette pencil from Esom and etch out my lower brow line and feather up to where it needs to be filled. Following the hair growth of her brow. Etching out that lower brow line over, and then just spotting those little spots that need a little extra shape and fill. and brushing to double check we have everything and feather out some of that pencil. Maybe a little more on that tail. And here. Now with mascara, I'm going to use my spoolie, and I'm just going to wiggle that mascara and kind of get her lashes blended in with the false lashes. Open. Look straight ahead. For the last step of our eyes, I'm going to go ahead and do what I call sealing the seams. Go and look straight down. You can see that there is a little bit of lightness around that lash line. That could be glue, it could be the lash line or the seam of the lashes, and I like to kind of seal it up. One of my favorite products is, I believe it's called Liquid Last from MAC. It's like a liquid liner. So I put a little bit on my palette, go ahead and look straight down, and I'm just going to kind of rub it in to that seam of that lash. This way it looks like these are her natural lashes, even though we know they aren't. But no one else needs to know. One open, and it just blends nicely. And right in here you can see that seam. And I'm just going in and shading it. All right, so I'm going to go in and line her lips with the Esom pencil in Plum. Just lightly shading the outside of her lips and feathering in. And rotate. Just going to feather that in gently. And then add this fun pop of color right into it. Kind of a blushy, plummy, pinky color. And mix together. And then just really working that color into that lip liner to bring balance and blend. sometimes blush fades, and so at the end of the application you might notice that you need to just add a little bit more. So we're going to amp up this look by adding just a little extra pop of blush in there to really bring the look together. Because who doesn't love some blush? Especially since this is our blushing beauty look.